Hi, this is Bill Stinnett. Today I'm outside Paris, France to conduct a workshop on maximizing sales velocity and predictability. One of the chief concerns we hear from nearly every organization we work with is how do you move more business through your sales pipeline more quickly while increasing the probability of closing each sales opportunity? And what's interesting is many of the things that we'll learn to do in terms of techniques and tactics are the same to accomplish both of those objectives. And so we've combined the material from our qualification workshop, our forecasting workshop, and several others into a complete program that's designed to help you close more business more quickly than you've ever been able to before.
We looked around in the marketplace. We found Bill Stinnett Sales Excellence through recommendation. Lev, our Vice President of Marketing, spoke with him first. I then had a discussion. I shared my concerns about the degree to which we'd get value, talked about some of the challenges that I felt we had as a sales organization and the things that I think it would be valuable to cover. And recognizing that pulling off the shelf modules would not necessarily be the way to go. And was encouraged on the basis that Bill had come up with the idea of, pulling pieces from each of these modules around a challenge that we have, and I got the impression that here was a guy who was prepared to be receptive to the input we had and would come up with something that would work for us. And I have to say, having run it once in the States and then having just completed a follow-up session here in Europe, I'm very happy that we made that decision.
It's never happened to me personally, but I have heard that some salespeople have found themselves down here in the later stages of a sales process trying to close a deal, but the customer's way back here in the early part of their buying process still kind of thinking about it. Now, I'm sure it's never happened to you personally, but do any of you have a friend that maybe... What happened is my friend got down here trying to close the deal because it was the end of the quarter for my friend, and the customer was back here and they didn't really care about the end of the quarter. But my friend really needed to close the deal. So what my friend thought is that if I rush through my sales process and take a whole bunch of steps to try to sell something, maybe my customer will catch up. Except it's funny how it doesn't work that way. When you work through your sales process at a pace that's faster than your customers working through their buying process, it actually slows it down. Have you ever noticed that? Has your friend noticed that? And it's like trying to pull a mule and the customer digs their heels in, and the harder you pull, the more they push back. And pretty soon what happens when you're down here, when your friend's down here trying to close the deal, your customer's back here thinking about things, they won't return your friend's phone calls. Then they won't respond to your friend's emails. And then your friend's sitting there pulling her hair out at the end of the quarter saying, they won't even call me back. Does this ever happen to your friend?
Bill weaved into his sessions for the folks here things that were specific to our organization, terminology that we use internally that has a lot of meaning and confers a lot of understanding to people, and it was clear to them that here's a guy who actually listens and is prepared to incorporate what he's learning from us as an organization into the way that he's delivering the training, which particularly for people for whom English is not their first language, it makes a big difference. The idea initially is that we'll incorporate the framework, the philosophy, the terminology into our CRM. My goal was to get to a point where we have at least a common set of vocabulary, a common framework that we can work within as a sales organization. Ultimately, it boils down to what you're trying to achieve, but if your goals are realistic, I'd have no hesitation but to recommend Bill.